Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Vice Chairman Bharti Enterprises, Mr. Rakesh Bharti Mittal. In conversation with Ms. Aditi Phadnis, Political Editor, Business Standard. Over to you, ma'am.
Now we are going to discuss something that is very close to all Indians, to all religions, castes, whatever denomination you may belong to, and that is giving and the joy of giving. Mr. Mittal, why giving and why now?
Very good evening, and thank you, Aditi. Let me first of all make this amply clear that giving is not something which is new to India. If we go back 2, 3, 4, 5,000 years back, giving was a norm. As a matter of fact, even today, I heard my parents, my grandparents, and I'm sure all of us have been hearing this, that we need to keep 10% aside of whatever you earn for a cause which can help the society. So clearly that was something which was, to my mind, a religion in India. But as we started moving on the development of the country post-independence, there were no opportunities which gave the entrepreneurs to build sustainable wealth. And when I say sustainable wealth, means if you go pre-1991, those were the days when you were, struggling all the time, moving from a license Raj to post-liberalization. You were fighting battles every day. And the taxes were so high that clearly there were no opportunities of wealth creation. Post-1991, with the opening up of India's economy and liberalization, we saw new age economies, new age industries. And if I look at today, innovative ideas for any and everything as a startup. The salaries have gone up. The corporates and companies are now making sustainable income streams. And individuals and the corporates have now at a stage where there is a sustainable wealth creation opportunities available. The moment you get into that, then as a responsible corporate citizen, you start looking at supporting the society. Because, this is something which is my favorite. Wherever one reaches in his or her life, there are three big contributors or catalysts: your parents, your teachers, and society. And to my mind, anything which you do for the society is repayment of a debt. You don't oblige anyone. So therefore now you start seeing CSR coming in. You start seeing more and more philanthropic initiatives coming up. Of course, we still get compared with the developed world. If you see today, US, UK, probably 65–70% of individuals give. While in India, it's 28%. That's the Bain Company's report. I really don't know how have they calculated that, because every time I move around, I see every individual giving something. Now that doesn't get counted. Like you see the unorganized sector, there's unorganized giving, which probably doesn't get captured in the reports. So therefore, I believe that there is a huge opportunity today to be a part of that journey.
So the institutionalized system of giving, or corporate social responsibility, or CSR, what does that, how does that involve industry? And how are you involved in it?
So, if you actually see, we did not need the mandate from the government to start spending 2% towards CSR of your average profits of last 3 years. And I think there's now amendment, it's the last year now. If you see large corporates, companies which were run with a heart, if I may say, were already giving even before this came up. But this channelizes in a very structured manner. And the roughly figures are, it goes from some 15,000 crores to 20,000 crore plus if we look at the large companies who are eligible and meet that criteria of 2% CSR. That money will start coming in. I think there are multiple challenges. One is that the eligibility criteria is under Section 135, restricted to Schedule 7, which has been notified by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. And of course, there are a number of opportunities: education, health, rural development, sanitation, water.
So Schedule 7 defines the
So
stuff
Schedule
that you
7
can do.
gives you a charter in which you can spend this 2% of CSR money. While the industry wanted that, it should not be mandated, which the government, the ministry and the government agreed to that. Second, we said, leave it to us if we want to spend any which way. If you actually go through the Schedule 7, so there'll be rural development. Now you can pick up 20 different projects under rural development and interpret in your own way. The only thing what the government has said is that the CSR committee of the board must approve the project. The board must approve the project and release funds, and you need to monitor that strictly. And if you have interpreted this as CSR, we will take it as CSR, which I think was a great relief. Last April, we started this journey. Now, if you look at listed companies, the large companies, either they had their own trusts or societies they started, or foundations, they started moving forward. But there were companies who had to set up the CSR committee. You needed an independent director. You needed to have a charter of that. And then you start receiving proposals. In fact, I always say on a lighter note, I mean, this has become an industry. Not a single day passes when you get a letter that, these are your profits, 2% is equal to this. How can we help you? And I believe that, that is not something which we should be doing or looking at, because then you get into unethical ways of trying to meet the criteria. I think CSR or giving or philanthropy has to come from your heart. Because otherwise, just for the sake of doing it, I don't think that is the way forward. So let me tell you what we are doing at Bharti Foundation. So we started in the year 2000. The foundation was set up in 2000, but prior to that, we have always been supporting scholarships and other educational initiatives. But in a more structured manner, we started moving forward in the year 2000 and picked up education as one prime area. Because what we believe that we need to be in an area where you can actually go and make a huge, positive, significant impact on the society, which is scalable, which is replicable. So as we speak today, we are directly running 254 village schools across 6 states. 42,000 children, about 2,000 teachers, focus on the girl child, 49% are girls. And this is free education for every child which walks into the Satya Bharti school. We provide uniform, books, a midday meal. So everything is for free. We don't charge a single rupee. And I know, I mean, when we started this journey, people kept telling me that, if you don't charge, they don't value. I have seen a tremendous shift in the last 15 years, or maybe now 20. Today, every parent wants their child to lead a life which is different than what they have led. And that can only come through education. So that is the first point. And our endeavor was that we need to go into the rural hinterland, where probably either the child will never go to school, or if he or she goes to school, will never get educated. If they go through the school class 12, they will have a certificate without any skill, without any knowledge. And I can tell you, 42,000 change agents in my villages have made life hell for their parents, their communities, the elected representatives. So that is how we started our journey. And as we were moving forward, we were trying to do different models. You know, it's very easy to go pick up a land, set up a building. It's the easiest part. But when you have to start running and managing those schools, that is where the problem comes. Today, every village has more than one school, more than one government school, and a private school put together. So I started talking to the chief ministers, and we started the quality support program from Haryana with a pilot of 4 schools. And the idea was that these are government schools, government teachers, students, their funding, everything is there. We will just go and sit in the classroom, observe what the teachers are doing. We went and told them we have come to learn from you what you are doing. And in a subtle way, a foot in the door. Today, as we speak, we have now gone up to almost 100 schools across Punjab, Rajasthan, J&K. In fact, J&K, yesterday we signed 21 schools, and another 40 schools we are signing in Srinagar today with the army who are managing those schools. So we've gone to now 100 plus schools. And by May, I think we'll be at about 160 schools, including Telangana, Goa.
So what do you do
So
there?
what we do generally in a quality support model is that, my team moves in, and we start doing a light touch program. And the program is, I can tell you, we went into these Haryana schools and they had computers, but not a computer room. They were all lying in boxes. So they had bought computers not being used. And in all these schools now, you have a computer room, you have science labs, you have libraries, there are cultural activities happening, sports. The teachers.
So your team goes there, figures out what is missing, and
So
supplements
I'm
it?
not providing the infrastructure. Everything is sitting there. We are motivating the teachers to take the lead and start into activity programs, which are not happening in schools.
Right.
Even in urban schools today, the sports is an activity which is very, very restricted.
Correct.
So forget about happening that in rural. But today, these very rural school children are now competing on speaking, public speaking, sport activities. They are winning awards.
So you are the Horlicks in the milk.
Sorry?
You are the Horlicks in the milk.
Well, whatever it is, whatever way you term it. And the success was that, I visited one of the schools last year. And this is a village called Bhojavas. And when I went there, the BEO was sitting there, the panchayat, the chairman of the school, and everyone, the community. And they told me that Bhojavas is the Kala Pani of Haryana. So any penalty posting for any department, the person gets posted here. And said, today we are at a situation where we get children from 20 kilometers far who come and join this school. Because in the last 3 years, we have changed the landscape of education in this village. So that is what Bharti Foundation has done. And when I visited them, there were 6 head teachers of different schools around that area standing with a request that we please take us into your program. And we took them informally because ultimately you have to go and sign an MOU with the government. So from a 4-school pilot, we will be 150 plus by 15th of May. And by the way, teachers are saying, could you also please train us?
How interesting.
And those teachers are coming for training on a Sunday, leaving their families. Not only the schools where we are, even the surrounding schools, the teachers just want to come and be part of this journey. And I think that is hugely gratifying. You don't build a school, you don't spend money on infrastructure. Government is spending the money, you have just uplifted the mood. The children have started coming to school regularly, dropouts go down. So these are the initiatives which we put in. And we also set up remedial centers in 800 villages across Rajasthan, Jharkhand, and Madhya Pradesh to bring out of school children back to school. And as we are now exiting out of that, 400 villages we have exited because there is no child left who is not into school. Those schools are now saying, can you please, by the way, continue this with us? So from a classroom where we were getting 20, 25 children, 40 depending on the village population, now they're saying 500 children, can you please continue with us? So that is the journey which we are treading, and if I put all these educational initiatives together, then we are reaching out to more than 100,000 children.
So giving for giving is one thing, but giving to create is another thing. So now you are giving, and the children are back in school. They're maybe the next Olympic decathlon participant will be from a school that you have supported, because he has got an opportunity which he won't get perhaps in the normal course.
In a way, it is already happening. So for the last now 6 years, all our village schools have been participating in the Joy of Giving Week, which happens September and October beginning. We compete with schools at the national level, including the urban schools. And my children have been winning awards in the top 10, top 50, top 100. One of the girls went to Washington. She won a prize of 50,000 rupees. She had never moved out of the village. And finally they told us, he says, you know, Mr. Mittal, while we appreciate what you are doing, but taking a child, because, I mean, she didn't know anything, and it was very difficult for them even to take care of her for those 3 days. But that's what we are doing. The communities are, participating in a frenzy mode, if I can tell you. They come and build a boundary wall of my school free of cost. They don't charge us because we are giving free education to their children. So in a way, this is now, if I may say, this model is getting replicated. I mean, Azim Premji announced setting up 1,000 schools. His team came and spent 4 days with us and saw what we were doing, and ultimately it's mutual learning for both of us. And I only believe that more and more corporates need to come up. I mean, if we have to talk about taking advantage of the demographic dividend of India, investment in education is extremely important. And let's not wait for government to do everything. I think it is our responsibility to ensure that every child, the last child, must be educated, skilled, and gets a job.
But in a way, isn't this replicating a responsibility that is ultimately the responsibility of the government, of the state?
I can say we are complementing to what the government is doing. I think we need to get out of this mindset that it is government's responsibility. You know, you cannot have islands of wealth. You cannot have islands of happiness if the society is in turmoil around you. It is everyone's responsibility to do whatever needs to be done.
So if everyone goes into education, then what happens to all the other?
I'm not saying education. I mean, there are many other things which can be done. Education is one. I mean, we have 2 other initiatives. For example, when Prime Minister Modi gave a call to the corporate sector to build toilets in government schools last August, we announced our Satya Bharti Abhiyan. So my more projects will be Satya Bharti. We adopted Ludhiana district, which has 900 plus villages. And we thought for 2 days, and we announced our program on the 18th August. Prime Minister Modi announced it on the 15th. And our view was that if a child goes to a toilet, has a toilet in school, what does he or she do in the morning at home? There is not a toilet at home. So you still cannot change the habits. So we have started building toilets in every village home which is without a toilet across 900 villages.
But are there so many homes that don't have toilets?
They are. By the time we exit the program in December 2016, we would have built more than about 30,000 homes in 900 villages.
In a place like Ludhiana, where per capita incomes are pretty high, relatively speaking?
Yeah, the point is all these things can be quite misleading. So let me correct myself. When we started the program, education we started from Ludhiana, we were charging 5 rupees a month. And one day I asked my team, I said, you go and collect this money. 100 children, 500 rupees, how much do you spend in collecting it? Then didn't have the answer, and I'm sure we would have spent the same amount of money. I said, please go back and tell the parents to give us 15 rupees in advance. 20 kilometers outside Ludhiana, they refused. They said, we can't give you 6. We'll give you 5 rupees every month. And I said, 0. We will not charge anything. So Ludhiana may be sounding the financial capital of Punjab, up north of India, but the matter of fact is, impoverished people, poverty is there. There are people who can't support their children at all. So, you can say, why would a place like Ludhiana villages not have a toilet? I mean, if you go to Ludhiana city, there will be certain slums and areas where there are no toilets available. But I did not want to make a community toilet because no one takes ownership. They are standing like white elephants, and that money goes down the drain. So we said we'll build in a home, hand it over to the family, they'll maintain it. And I can tell you, every time I have gone into these villages, the women are so happy. They're actually blessing us. And by the time we exit December 2016, Ludhiana rural will be open defecation free, 900 villages. The first district of Punjab, and probably could be the first rural district in India. So that's the second initiative we have done. And the recently launched initiative we've started is Bharti, where we are going to support underprivileged under trials who are languishing in jails and don't have a few thousand rupees to put up the bail bond. The bails have been granted by the court. First, they don't know what they need to do. I mean, there's no legal help available. Their NALSA, SALSA, these legislative authorities do provide a lawyer. But my guess is they still don't have the money. They only provide service. So we will be actually putting up money for these first-time offenders, petty offenses. And the matter of fact is these people who are languishing in jails, if they would have been convicted, they would have been out in 3 months. They're languishing for 2-3 years, and they don't know where to go. Only probably sole bread earners of the family. The family is suffering, and they really don't know what to do. So this is just started, 3-4 month old. So there are many things which this country needs. Healthcare, skilling is one of the biggest things which needs to be done. Because any education which we look at, if you don't have provide a skill, employment is not there. 28% are employable graduates. My belief is if you provide skilling as part of the curriculum in schools, every child will be employable after class 12. You solve the problem.
I think everyone needs to put their hands together for the initiative that Nyay Bharti is. Jails across the world are dehumanizing. Indian jails triply so. And when you consider the conditions in Indian jails where people under trials are cooped up together, hundreds to a cell, simply because they've been convicted or they've been tried, but they can't put up a bail bond, I mean, that is a really sorry comment on our system. So I think that initiative itself deserves a real good round of applause.
Thank you. In fact, I'm considering, and we will take this decision very soon, even persons who have been convicted for petty offenses. I mean, that filter will apply. Underprivileged, convicted, first-time offenders, petty offenses. They don't have money to put up their fines. We will add to that to our charter and see if that can also be taken forward.
Have you been to a jail?
Only on the cinema screen, I've seen it. Never been to a jail.
So you don't really know what happens in...
Well, I've not personally witnessed it, but you know what happens there. We know. I mean, the matter of fact is, so let me say, Supreme Court, I think Supreme Court pronounced a judgment which said that if you have spent 50% of your jail term, you should be allowed to go free. But the prison authorities are not doing anything because there's a proviso that if you have anything, you may come back to us. No one is taking that initiative. And you actually spend more money in keeping these people, and not only that, by the time they come out, they'll be hardened criminals.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are no questions in this session, so I'm really sorry, but I cannot allow questions. Giving is a truly ennobling, truly uplifting experience, and we thank Mr. Bharti for the many initiatives that his group has undertaken to give and to encourage to give. Thank you very much for a wonderful
I can only add, if I can ignite some sparks here. For me, to my mind, there is no better exercise for the heart. I have a cardiologist, heart specialist sitting right out there, and I just saw him and I thought of this. There's no better exercise for the heart than to go down and uplift people. And I can tell you, this is so gratifying and satisfying. You sleep well, you are happy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. That was truly enlightening. I would request none other than Mr. Arvind Subramanian, Chief Economic Advisor, Government of India, to kindly grace the stage and present a memento to Mr. Bharti Mittal. Can we have a round of applause? Thank you, sir, for giving us your precious time. Would also request to kindly present a memento to Miss Aditi Phadnis. Once again, can we have a huge round of applause for this fabulous Mindmine exchange?